Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Welcome, dear friends, to Kardec Radio. Here we are, nourishing our souls, also at the Spirit Society of Virginia. Our team is here, Paloma and Luciana, while Carol and Daisy are in the other channel of our YouTube Kardec Radio and the Spirit Society of Virginia's Facebook page, where the children will be delighted with a new series of lessons based on Ben Franklin's 13 virtues. And amongst them, one of them, cleanliness, we're going to study here tonight with the adults as well. But before we begin, Paloma is going to read for us a message, right, Paloma?
That's right. And today the message is from the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life, by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. And it's chapter 43, titled Advice. In the law, Moses commanded us that such women must be stoned. What do you say about it? The spirit of bad faith often approached the master with certain questions, hoping for answers that would make him look foolish. However, Jesus' word was always strong, incontestable, and full of divine wisdom. We make reference to this fact in order to invite the disciple to consult the wisdom, manners, and example of the master at all times. Jesus' teachings and actions are ready lessons for all of life's questions. People often spend a lot of money on professional advice. The advice of attorneys, for instance, sometimes comes at the cost of bitter sacrifice. Jesus, however, gives profound and decisive advice for free. All the soul has to do is ask for it in an attitude of prayer, balance, and quietude. The Master will speak to it through the good news of redemption. Unexpected cases and problems frequently come up that are difficult to solve. Obviously, people know what traditions and customs would advise them to do. But it is essential for the disciple of the gospel to ask in the sanctuary of the heart, "But you, O Master, what do you say about it?" The answer will be given without delay as a divine light in the great silence.
All right. So this is an invitation for us to pray together, to prepare ourselves. Let us prepare ourselves to attune with our very personal spirit guides, the spirit protectors. Open the door of our homes, because now the Spirit Center is in our homes. And in this togetherness, we form a current. To form a current, we need to be on the same page in our prayer. And personal petitions now are not the best thing to do, because we need to form this current, really operate at our best. So how do we do it? Follow thought by thought, word by word, feeling together in this prayer. Okay, friends? So here we go. Dear Mother, Father God, we are so distracted on earth. We spend our days contemplating and aiming at passing goals, ephemeral, and then a short life of less than 100 years is almost lost as the spirits recount. For we justified the waste of our time and resources. But tonight, we no longer want to be distracted. We no longer want to dispose of the precious time you've given us and the resources that are precious. We want to attune with you to make better use of time, resources, benefiting from this quick internship in matter, our reincarnation. We would like to raise our thoughts to those who came before us, especially the benefactors of humanity, and express our gratitude to them for their service, for their time, for their awareness. We would like to kindly ask you, dear God, to use us so you multiply our wishes of wellness in healing baskets that shall be delivered to those who are in greater need than ourselves, especially mothers who have just given birth and their newborns to that precious beginning that we usually pay little attention. We would like also to visualize your healing baskets being delivered to all those who are terminally ill, practicing thoughts of detachment to their families in their need to surrender to your call. We pray for those who discarnated recently of any sort, especially brutal acts of violence. We pray for children who became orphans, for parents who became childless in the midst of brutality. And we raise our thoughts in gratitude, for we recognize your greatness and the beauty of life. May a new beginning be experienced by all, relief, consolation, and healing be spread out to the earth. May then we stay under your guidance, feeling your protection as you grant us the permission to begin this moment of understanding, spirituality, and much more. And so be it. All right, today we have a mission. But before we begin that part of the mission number 1 comes with Luciana. Right, Luciana?
Right. Hi, friends. So as we are doing the study of the Kardec's book, the Spirit's book, it's important for us to study ourselves this precious, this tool that we have in hand and in English. And as we are continuing to do the study of the virtues and vices, part 3, chapter 12. And today we're going to study question 901. And it's very important for us to see how Kardec and all the books that we read in Spiritism, how all the question, all the teachings come very close to us. Those are things that was made to make it easy for us to comprehend, to understand, and to continue our journey as we want to become a more elevated spirit. So all those books that we have in hand now is to help us and guide us. So in the question 901, Kardec starts giving an example that is very common to us. And he starts, there was two miserly men. One denies himself the necessaries of life and dies of want in the midst of his treasure. The other is stingily in regards to the others, but is lavish in his outlay for himself, and while he is coiled from making the smallest sacrifice to render a service to his neighbor or to subserve a noble cause. Is regard less of expense in the gratification of his taste or passion. If a kindness is asked of him, he is always short of funds, but for the sanctifying of any fancy of his own, he has always plenty of money. So here comes the question. Which of them is the more guilty of the two, and which of them will be the worst off in the spirit world? And as we know, friends, this situation might come to us, right? We can see, maybe we experience the same. Maybe we are the ones collecting this treasure and not sharing with our brothers and sisters. We can see different scenarios in our family, with ourselves. But here, Kardec comes with a great answer to help us to proceed in life. He who is spent on his own enjoyment for he is more selfish than the miserly. Sorry, guys. The other is already undergoing a part of his punishment. So again, remember, we need to bring to us that everything that we have, everything that God provides to us is not ours. Not even time is ours. Nothing is ours. We are just being on the planet, being lent everything. So everything that was provided to us, we also need to share. And as we've been studying those questions from before, we know that we need to do the good to others. So here, this answer is a clear answer that we need to get rid of the selfishness. All the things that we only do for us, we need to analyze and see how we can change and help others more than only be thinking about us and our family. Remember, we have this beautiful universal family, and we need to be doing something good for them, for this family, for these family members of our universal family as well. So that's it for today, and let's continue with the other study.
Okay, got it. The sound. Mamma mia, always the sound. So, today we are going to be talking about a topic that Benjamin Franklin, when he lined up 13 virtues list for him, he said he wanted to be a little more clean That's his word. Yeah. But, there's a context, of course. And it's beautiful to see the humility. I know he also wrote about humility and how he needed to practice more humility. But the beauty of Ben Franklin is that he teaches us to recognize where we're falling short and how to, boom, work on it. Virtues. All of us are on earth to improve ourselves. We need to aim higher. Usually we don't. Usually we want to go easy, comfort zone, things that are comfortable to us, which is the same old. We don't progress. Ben Franklin, at 20 years of age, sailing, he realized, I need to improve myself. For whatever reason, you can read his autobiography, but get to know he's already a spirit of the highest order on earth. Yes, he participated in the codification of Spiritism. You can see at the beginning of the book, the Spirit's book. But we're going to get to know that he was already ahead of humanity. And he lined up 13 virtues for him. He said, these are the things I need to work upon to be better. One of them was to be cleaner, to be neater. What about us? We say, I'm so spiritual, but I don't like to take a shower. Oh, I didn't know to be spiritual, I need to take a shower. Well, we can discuss about it, the philosophy of being spiritual. But you know what we're talking about. We're talking about evolving, progressing. And Ben Franklin, he himself realized to be clean, and I'll read his very definition. He says, tolerate no uncleanliness in body, clothes, or habitation. Wow. Why did he say that? Of course, when he was living on earth in the 1700s, life was tough. Yes, no bathroom. No many easy things for us to clean our homes. You can imagine. No washer, no dryer, no many things. Not all these beautiful, wonderful products that we use that kind of almost kill ourselves besides killing the bacteria, right? It's true. But at Ben Franklin, no, people were not. If you read a book that, forgive me for not recalling the author, it was a historian who wrote the book about John Adams, the same author. And he talks about George Washington, mentioning that one of the first measures in George Washington's presidency, our first president in the United States, was to talk about not peeing and throwing pee over the windows, and thus imagine the mess in the streets, which was pretty common at the time. Nowadays, depending on where we live, we may not incur in those things. However, are we neat? It depends on the standard, right? Are we clean in that sense? Personal hygiene, clothes, homes. Are we messy? Do we deal with clutter with ease? Are we hoarders? These are the things we need to talk about. And you see why, spiritually speaking, oh, it matters. Think of our guide and model, Jesus. Was he clean? Was he neat? Have we ever heard that Jesus didn't take care of himself? Have we ever heard of Jesus not participating into the general movement of helping organize things orderly? Questions for us, right? So let us then move to a few ideas here, and You are welcome to share your thoughts here in our chat and dialogue with us, okay? So when we talk about tidying up and spirituality, where are we? We need to ask ourselves where we are before anything else. But if we go to the extreme, let us talk a little bit about a story that is in this book. This book is in Spanish, not in English yet. The book is already available in Portuguese. Hechos que Prueban by Amália Domingo Soler has so many beautiful stories on reincarnation, intriguing ones. And it has a story on that you read in Portuguese, Reencarnação e Vida. If you want to watch the program we did at Kardec Radio, only 15 stories of those, you can go to YouTube or Facebook page at Kardec Radio and find the list, the playlist, 15 cases of previous lives. It's very interesting. One of the cases, and I'll summarize it, is of a man who was a homeless. He was a homeless. He was always begging. He was a beggar. And one day, he dies. And people find out that he actually accumulated a lot of money. All the money that he acquired, he kept it, didn't spend it, and it was in all the news. And people were like, oh my gosh, why? And Amália Domingo Soler was asking, why? Why? Instead of using it, sharing it, investing it, he was just keeping it, accumulating. And the story of this beggar tells us that in previous lives, there were moments in which he actually spent money like he had all the money of the world. People suffered. It's just a teaser because you can listen to one of the cases at Kardec Radio, the 15 cases, the case of the beggar. This is just a teaser to tell us that there is a previous life involved. There is an emotional trauma involved. There is an inner conflict, which we call existential conflict, involved as well. Does that justify our hoarding habits, our clutters, our lack of hygiene? Yes and no. It makes us understand, but actually justify? No. If we go a little bit deeper to understand what we mean by clutter, by the definition, clutter is about a crowded, confused mess or collection. It's when we collect newspapers and magazines and we keep it there and we say, no, it's important, maybe important one day, maybe I'm going to use one day. And people who start literally accumulating to the point that one day, from clutter to hoarding. Hoarding, which is already considered a mental illness. What is hoarding? It's this compulsion to continually accumulate a variety of items that are often considered useless or worthless by others, followed by an inability to discard the items without great distress. So it's when somebody finds a little bit of piece of paper and say, oh, but that's from a candy that I love. I don't want to throw it away. Then we keep it. But hoarding can become so severe that they say there are categories of clutter that will turn into this hoarding mess. So there are 5 levels, and in these 5 levels, as you can briefly see here in this table, it goes from level 1 when you have light amounts of clutter and no noticeable odors, to all doors and stairways that are accessible, to find pet waste on the floor, or evidence of household bugs, rodents, overflowing garbage cans, dirty food preparation services, at least one unusable bathroom or bedroom, overflowing garbage cans, odors throughout the house, no clean dishes or utensils, bugs, as we mentioned, more than one blocked exit, at least 4 too many pets per local regulations, noticeable human feces, rotting food on surfaces and inside a non-working refrigerator. Level 5. All of this, level 5. So it's this compulsiveness to keeping things, objects, animals, and even trash, regardless of their value, and the difficulty of disposing of things that are a waste. This happens more than we imagine. More than we imagine. In the United States alone, we're going to see that people not only use their homes, but they use their storages. If it's not enough to have a home, you need a storage elsewhere. We understand that sometimes when you're in transition, you need storage, etc. But that's not the case. It's becoming a multi-million industry, this self-storage, when people have, besides their home, storage units somewhere else where they keep other things. And Hollywood has even made movies where people not only keep things, but they keep another life in the storage units. Question to us, how are we going to be healthy, happy, when we accumulate this much? How can it be possible? Some people justify, but Vanessa, I bought a smaller house and I have a lot of furniture. The day I move to a bigger house, I want to use this furniture. But when is that day going to be? I don't know. Okay. Meanwhile, the furniture is there. And then some people don't have furniture. Why not giving it away? And the day you need, you buy another furniture. Oh, but it was expensive. Or I want to keep this because somebody gave it to me, because it's precious to me. And then we start accumulating things or doing like other people. They can't see a promotion or sale going on. They buy it. They don't need to go to store. They buy right off the email. Oh, it's on sale. They buy. It comes to their house. It's delivered. They don't open the package. They don't use it. They just keep it unopened. And then you have a whole room or more than a room in the garage, in other places, holding on to all these things in the name of one day I may use it. One day it may serve a purpose. One day. And then if it's not enough, the habit of people, because things may be so inexpensive, you have a coffee maker. And then one day you found a better one. Instead of giving that away, you put it aside. It's in the garage. No cars in the garage because there's so much stuff. And then we keep the coffee maker. And then another day we find a better coffee maker. There's a third one. And all of them are almost brand new. And we don't give it away. The same happens for cell phones. When you go to the store, change your phone. They say, trade it in. And you say, how much? This much. I better keep it, just in case. And then by the 10th cell phone, those were so outdated. People could have used it. You could have given away to people. But we justify, what if I need it? Then I keep 2, 3, 4, 5. But we pray. We're so spiritual. We pray and we accumulate. Is that a mismatch? Is there a mismatch? When we say we're so spiritual, but we accumulate. We don't donate. And if we donate 1 and keep 10. And we have a hard time cleaning. What about us? Before we go further, how important it is to evaluate where we are in that regard, in terms of keeping things. Nowadays, we have this minimalist movement. Some people laugh. They say, that's way too much. What is our reference then? Where are we? We accumulate documents, we accumulate things, we accumulate clothes for ourselves. There are people who they have clothes since they were children. What for? Oh, because I just like it. Remember, one day we're going to discarnate. We're going to discarnate. And then people start having issues. And they don't know why they have issues in life. And we often think the obsessors. The obsessors are anchoring me. Somebody has sent me bad energy. My life is stuck. And then from a different angle, it's clear to see where the anchors are. It's created by us. How so? Let us double check here. Let us double check where the anchors may be. Let's talk about the concept of tidying up, which means to make a place neat, orderly, removing extraneous stuff. To make neat, to organize. To clean as well. Oh, but I don't like cleaning. It's too much of a headache. Yeah, but how are we going to become pure spirits if we don't know how to clean? The good spirits that come to cleanse our hearts and our minds and the home, they're experts in cleaning. How are we going to achieve that level, helping the cleansing of a planet if we barely clean our home? How spiritual are we? It's a paradox. We don't clean, we don't organize, we accumulate, we don't keep it neat. So if all of us, we double check on the order of events in the universe, we're going to see that our universe is nice and neat. Is it or is it not? Nice and neat? Look at this galaxy, the cosmos. So orderly, so harmonious. How are we keeping it steady there? God counts on us. He counts on the superior spirits, the pure spirits that put it all together as well. They like order. They like neatness. They know how to tidy it up. to tidy it up. Where are we in that regard? We need to ask from the beginning to the end of this conversation and this study. Because often our lives are a mess because our closet is a mess. Oh yeah, because the closet represents the mess in our minds. So open the closet, organize. Sometimes our purse, women and purses, but men and wallets. Open your wallet. I see men who barely sits steady because the wallet is so thick. What do you keep in your wallet? All the money of the world? Oh no, it's just a lot of paper and receipts. Come on, let's clean it up. And the purses, you can't even find a pen because it's all upside down. And I know in women's case, no matter how hard you try to make nice and neat, it always, the moment you start picking up something, the next time you have to organize it all over again. But besides that point, what about the cabinets in our kitchen? The refrigerator, is it orderly, neat, clean? What about the garage? What about the laundry room? What about the living room? Is it like you have too many things that are not needed there? Even our brains, as a neuroscientist, we can share with you, we're very visual beings. We're visual beings. When we see too many things, it stresses us out. Because no matter how conscious we are or unconscious of all the stimuli, our brain's constantly processing it. And it takes a lot of energy to put it aside, to put it aside, to put it aside, to put it aside, because it's not important. It's all about stimulation. So I have a picture too. There are people who have pictures all over the walls. That's a lot of stimulation for us. It's very stressful. Just to talk about the visual part of it and the processing of our brain. Now, little by little, we're going to add the vibratory and the spiritual component of it all. Why? If we start marching towards the understanding of it all, Jesus said, blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who are humble, who are not selfish. You can read more about it in the Gospel According to Spiritism. And I'll tell you the chapter. Chapter 7. It says, Pride and Humility. Pride and Humility, items 11 and 12. And it says to us that we need to ponder those things. What does it have to do with it all? Because when I say I don't like to clean, because clean seems to me something that people of lower socioeconomic classes do, or slaves as it happened in the past. So people still feel like cleaning is not for me, because it's not fancy, right? That's what people think. Pride. Or when people accumulate, for me. God gives them $1,000, they spend $1,000 on whatever they like. What is that called? Selfishness and pride? Yeah, because God didn't give you, He gave through you. What are you doing? Only using it for yourself? For your petty things? And then you have a house. And then you decide to buy the beach house. While there are people who are homeless. Is this selfishness? Of course it is. But Vanessa, can't I have a beach house? Of course you can. But should you? Maybe not. Why? Because there are people who don't have houses. How can we dare to think so selfishly of ourselves instead of using that money to help people? That's selfishness. But our society justifies. And then I have 1 car, 2 cars, 3 cars. And there are people who even accumulate cars that don't work well. And people justify. I worked hard for it. I deserve it. From a material perspective, you're right. From a spiritual angle, we're wrong. Because these things are not ours. So much so that when we die, we don't carry them with us. Death is so beautiful because it equalizes us. Last week, I've come to know that a former housekeeper that worked for our family in Brazil, she discarnated. And in our prayers, we were so happy because we said, finally, she's no longer poor. Finally, she's no longer sick. Finally, she is like everybody else. She's not apart. She's not different. And we say this not because she was less, but people feel it. After death, game is over. You were the billionaire of the earth and the poorest person equalized. Where does that pride go? It disappears. I mean, quote unquote, disappears. So when we accumulate in a clutter way, hoarding way, we are being selfish. Are we being simplistic? No. Because, of course, we need the psychiatric help to see the emotional issues. Of course, there are emotional issues there. When we feel so insecure, when we feel so afraid that we need to accumulate to feel protected. There's so many stories on the behind the scenes that we want to respect everyone's experiences. But if we come to the common ground of the spirit that incarnates to evolve, deep inside, there is this unawareness that we are not the center of the world. So blessed are the poor in spirit because they don't accumulate. Blessed are the poor in spirit because they will reach heaven, as Jesus said. Why? Because they are not going to keep things unnecessarily. They're going to fly high and easy when they discarnate. They're not going to give any headache to anybody in their families, like Chico Xavier. When he discarnated, nobody had to fight for anything. He disposed of everything way before he discarnated, along the way. We've never heard of people like, oh my gosh, Chico Xavier had a house somewhere else and now we don't know who's going to keep it. No, he was very diligent. What about us? We can discarnate overnight. What's going to happen with the things we accumulate? And then I hear stories, true stories, we hear of families who have a lot of headache dealing with the disposing of loved ones who discarnated and accumulated so much. So we need help. We need help to learn how to be cleaner. We need help to learn how to be neater, to be more organized, and especially to learn how to detach. Detachment is so important. Go to the book Heaven and Hell by Kardec. He says that our discarnation is going to be easier depending on the level of attachment and detachment in the material realm. Because then the molecules of our perispirit and the physical body will be so connected, so cohesive, it's going to be hard to discarnate. So the more we detach, the easier the discarnation will be. Before we discarnate, life is going to be much easier when we learn to let go. Look at this book. This book is in English, not published yet. And it's named Voltei by Chico Xavier. The spirit author is Brother Jacob. You can watch the 21 days that we discussed at Kardec Radio. We already did it. It's named 21 Days to Spiritual Awakening. It's the whole book. Since you don't have the Portuguese one, you read, you listen to it, or watch the programs at Kardec Radio. In a particular moment, we're going to see this man, Brother Jacob, who is laying down at deathbed. He is discarnating. One of his daughters is coming along to help him out. Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, next to the bookshelf, is there to help out, and other spirit friends. At some point, Dr. Bezerra de Menezes shows this man who used to be a spiritist director, even at the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, shows him what you can see on the nightstand: a pen, a book, eyeglasses, especially the pen. You see, it represents around it a light, and the connection, the fluidic links, the energetic links between the objects and the very person who owns them. And Dr. Bezerra de Menezes mentions to Brother Jacob that some of those things, those attachments, are not helping him to discarnate all too easy. Now imagine how many energetic links you have between you and your things, from a pen to a phone, to a computer, to a bed, to clothes. It's a lot of things. And the more we have, the more connections. Now imagine how anchored we are. And if those objects are not being used, and that's the tricky part, because if you're using them, okay. But if they are not being used, they are true anchors. And then you start being stuck energetically. It's real. So detachment is a saving grace. To put it to good use is a saving grace. How many people would give gifts to Chico Xavier? And he wouldn't use them because he didn't need them. He gave them away. Not because he didn't respect people, but because he understood that the law of life is this: you gave it to me, now I dispose however I want it. And I think the best way is to give to somebody else who needs it. For example, a spiritist friend gave him a special copy of the book Paul and Stephen. Paul and Stephen, it was the anniversary of the publication. So somebody made it, the cover, out of gold and diamonds, gave it to Chico Xavier. He received it with love. One day, somebody knocked at the door. Chico Xavier, please help me. I don't have money to buy food. What do I do? Do you give me money? Please help me. Chico didn't have cash like us. We may have credit cards, but no cash. Chico Xavier is not even credit card. So he looked at the book on the table and said, that's it. Gave the book to the person, said, I think if you go to the pharmacy and give them this book, it may help you buy the remedies that you need, the medication. Would you do this? Or would we be one of those people like, oh my gosh, it's so precious. It doesn't exist in the world. And then somebody's in need. They die, and you keep the book. That level of attachment, creating spiritual clutter, energetic clutter, makes us understand why we suffer. Not because of the obsessors, but because of us. If we go to anybody's home, we're going to find a way to declutter, to clean, to be neater. During the pandemic, best time to focus on this. To fly higher, clean, organize, be neater has been frankly recommended. So, here's a tip for those who want to be practical. Watch Tidying Up with Marie Kondo on Netflix. Yes, watch it, because she has a beautiful approach to it, a very spiritual, very loving approach. And she asks this question, keep the things that spark joy in you. Sometimes we keep just because, not necessarily because there is joy, but that joy, not the selfish joy, the joy that really justifies the immortal soul. Sometimes there's more joy in giving away that precious pen that we never use than keeping it and never using it. Look at your kitchen cabinets. Maybe there are items there you never cook, you never use. They're non-perishable. Put them together and give them to somebody who likes to cook, or to the food bank, because you're dreaming of cooking that and you never do. Years went by and we don't even know if it hasn't expired. Little things, even medication. We keep medication that is expired. What for? We need to be diligent in keeping things nice and clean, because it's all about the fluidic connections as well. We are responsible for those things that we own. Not the neighbor, not the family member. We are. And we'll be accountable for how we're disposing of it. And if we don't become diligent and something happens and problems come up, like I've seen people discarnate and family members fighting for little belongings, personal belongings. Who is at fault? The person who discarnated as well, because it was theirs and they didn't dispose of it. Is that why we need a living will? Yes. Is that why we need to talk to our family members and friends about the day we die so they know what to do? Yes. What do you do with the books? Give it to the Spiritist Center if they are Spiritist books. Buy my clothes. Donate to a shelter. What about the furniture that I use, the computer? You can give to somebody who really needs it. And the things I need to give to particular people, I put in the living will. It's a lot of work, but we have to do it sooner or later. Because death comes, and sometimes that angel of death doesn't knock at the door asking for a minute. It just comes. So to be diligent in cleaning, in keeping things in order, in being hygienic in our physical body. How many diseases happen because we are not good at our hygiene? The pandemic is telling us that. It's saying, guys, can you guys be a little more hygienic? Of course, this is the message too. We needed to be more conscientious when we eat, wash our hands before, when we are picking up stuff and doing other things. We here may be nice and neat, I don't know, hopefully, but in the world, we are far from it. There are people who go to public restrooms, don't wash their hands before they come back to the table in a restaurant. Yes, they don't. You go to the gym, people go to the restrooms, they don't wash their hands when they come back, and they keep using the very apparatuses that everybody else is going to use. So we still need to tweak a little more our hygiene. Teach our children not about being obsessive compulsive, but being nice and neat, as Benjamin Franklin said. We wash our hands, we brush our teeth, we take care of our clothes, we wash them. How often do you change the linens on your bed? Maybe once a month. Once a month? Mamma mia. Our skin dries out. And it's food for microorganisms. And then we're sleeping on a bed of microorganisms. Ideally, at least once a week, minimum, every 2-3 days. You go out in this pandemic, come back, take a shower, put those clothes too in the laundry room. Why? You never know. Maybe because we are at a specific time when we need to be even cleaner to avoid the spreading of the coronavirus. But besides the pandemic, it's about practicing this feeling of being orderly, neat. Because one day as we evolve as pure spirits, we will need to show this vibration, this clean vibration that is orderly, that is nice and neat, so we can help people organize their vibrations as well. When we talk about organizing vibrations, we're talking about organizing emotions. Clutter within. Now let's talk about the emotional clutter, okay? The emotional clutter inside of us. When we hold grudges, when we hold on to resentment, those things will accumulate and create emotional clutter. And there are people who become wonderful hoarders in terms of their emotions. And then we start accumulating what we associate with. And diseases will be just next door. Unnecessary ones. There are diseases that are inevitable, but there are some that we could have avoided if we're just a little more careful with our emotions, with our thoughts. So, if we could wrap up to the summary of tidying up, it's about cultivating simplicity, which Leonardo da Vinci said is the ultimate sophistication. Tidy it up. Right now, it's not about time to buy anything. It's about time to clean, to make life easier. This talk is coming to us in the middle of a pandemic purposefully. The good spirits at the Spiritist side of Virginia and Kardec Radio really want to invite all of us to really pay attention to the material things because we are incarnated. The body, our homes, our belongings, we need to have a purpose for all of them and to take good care of them. In the Spirit's book by Kardec, and especially in the Gospel according to Spiritism, there's a passage that talks about take care of body and spirit because we're incarnated. We need to take care in an efficient way, which is to keep it simple. We don't need 10,000 pairs of shoes. We don't need 10,000 pants and tops and coats because we're just a person. Oh, but Vanessa, unless you're top model, and yet they give you clothes you don't need actually when you go around, right? But for the rest of us, we keep what we need, knowing that one day we won't be here. And if we don't use things, it's a good invitation to give it away with love. And here comes when we remind ourselves of this beautiful approach by Mary Kondo. Okay, Mary Kondo, so beautifully, she says, when you take your things, if you're going to donate, express your gratitude. Express your gratitude. You were happy with it. It was useful for you. Now may it make somebody else happy. But keeping it unused is anchoring energetically. It may be very detrimental to us. There are many diseases that happen because we are not hygienic enough, because we are not orderly enough, because we are energetically super stressed out because of the amount of clutter that we have, the accumulation, which at the end of the day is all about selfishness and pride, thinking that we deserve, we're entitled to things. It's a hard conversation to have, but people are not pointing fingers. The good spirits are just inviting all of us to live lighter, to be lighter in our daily lives and learn new things, because to become a pure spirit one day, we'll need to be very good experts in cleaning, to help people clean their vibrations. And to clean vibrations, we need to clean our emotions. To clean emotions, we start cleaning our kitchen, our clothes, and organizing things. So this is the proposal of today. We're going to read for you John DeRosa's words. He says, our magnificent universe could not work if it were not orderly and neat. Learn from the example of God's universe to organize and keep things straight and neat. Be truthful and honest with yourself and give away, sell, or recycle all those things that we have not used for too many days or even years. Treat yourself to that wonderful feeling when you detach that heavy weight of too much stuff depressing your health in oh so many ways. Thank you so much, John, for sharing this summary. And now we bring here our friends for our final discussion on this brief study on the invitation to be nice and neat. Right, Paloma?
Oh my God, I had no idea you were going to bring Mary Kondo. And we watched as a family yesterday the first episode, because it is tidying up it's a family effort, right? It's a family effort. So we watched yesterday, and it's so perfect with this talk because it shows the process of tidying up was really about letting go of all the emotions. Like the family had to let go of things they were feeling, and those feelings were connected to the things they were accumulating. right? Like, oh, when I was a child, I loved Christmas. And because I loved Christmas and it reminds me of my mom, now I have rooms of Christmas stuff. There's no other place to sit, but there are nutcrackers everywhere. And we laugh, but the reality is we got so that in that episode, the person got so attached to that good feeling of Christmas, but then he carried over 30, 40 years of accumulation, right? So it brings to us that in reality is tidying up our emotions. The physical aspect is just a reflection of it.
Thank you, Paloma. Right, Luciana.
Yes. So this topic always come up in my family. We always talking about I'm the morbid one. Oh, you didn't talk about your will and all the stuff. So now we have some family members that pass away, and then finally people understood me when I keep saying we need to be prepared, we need to organize ourselves. I'm not the most organized person, but I try. And like growing up in Brazil, you can see, like as you were talking, like, oh my gosh, my mom was always keeping the house clean. There was not extra thing, if you need like food and stuff, is always going to the food store and buy exactly what you need. And then when I come here, oh no, we buy sales, we have stuff. So like people accumulate so much stuff. Like, what is this life? Is so different. And then you start bringing this to your life. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have sun and stuff. And then I get to one point that I really had a lot of stuff with tags that I haven't even used. And like, what am I doing? So then like, no, let's give it away. And then it's very interesting when you say like the joy of giving. So sometimes you have that joy of giving something more than if you were keeping. So it's very important for us to do this exercise. I watched this series already. It is great and it's very helpful to us. And then another thing that I want to point it out, when we say uh, the golden rule, do to others what you want others do to you, and it's always come to my mind. I think it was Kardec. One of the spirits books told us the first order is yourself, your body, right? So we need to do the cleaning that a lot of people tells me like, oh, I shower once a week. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. We come from a country in Brazil that we showers 2 or 3 times a day, and then they tell me you shower once a week. So the to do this to others first, right? So to you, so you clean your body, then you clean your stuff, and trying to keeping organized. We do accumulate stuff, especially here, but like with the pandemic, is that exercise that we need to be doing, and then prepare ourselves to not be selfish. Like you said, when we pass, when we die, all our things is going to be there holding us. So this is what I'm trying to bring to my family. Let us work together so we don't put pressure on others. It's our responsibility to take care and do what needs to be done right now.
Right. Thank you, Luciana. Now, Daisy and Carol, at the beginning of our conversation here, we talked about Ben Franklin and how being clean and orderly was one of the virtues that he recommended for himself. He wanted to practice it more often and become better at it. And I know today, we know you begun a new series of studies with the children. You want to talk about it, please?
Yes, it was so beautiful, Vanessa, because we introduced to the children that Ben Franklin helped Kardec with the Spirits book, that he's a spiritist spirit. And he was such an avant-garde of humanity and still is, because he was worried, not worried in a morbid sense, but concerned in a healthy way about being clean and orderly 300 years ago. So he was and still is at the avant-garde of humanity. And Vanessa, also you always remind us on Kardec Radio that we are co-creators at a minor level. So as we practice following Jesus's example, Ben Franklin's example, Mary Kondo's example, and take care of our temporary belongings, later on we can be engineers of planets with God. We are training right now to reach that level. So it's truly important that we manage the preschool kindergarten level so
Yes.
that we can later reach the PhD level. Imagine now, we could imagine now that we are building up those skills, just like children put building blocks together. We are building up those skills, and we are looking forward to being all the more inspired by Ben Franklin, right, Daisy?
Yes, right, Carol. It's so beautiful to think, right, Carol, as you're saying that, 300 years ago, can you imagine there were no showers, like we have nowadays? And he was already at the vanguard talking about being clean and being ordered, because it's at a time that, it's not easy as we have nowadays a bathroom in our homes with, septic system and all that. So he was really a pioneer and he brought to us a list of 13 virtues, which is amazing to think about at an early age, adolescent, young adult. He stopped and he put it on paper for him what would be the 13 virtues that he still had to acquire. Like, so the humility of looking inside himself and saying, those are the 13 things that I'm gonna put in practice. And I was reading how every day he would get that list and he would go through it, and he would kind of like a checklist. He would say like, oh, I did good on this or not. So so interesting to see that a spirit, which at the time was not a spiritist, quote unquote, for us to see is that these teachings are really cross-cutting, right? They really come in order, and cleanness was one of his. And as you're mentioning, Vanessa, talking about the pandemic, I was reading an article that was mentioning how, so in the southern hemisphere, they are already ending their regular flu season, right? So as we are entering here in the fall, our regular flu season, the southern hemisphere already ending, because over there is, winter now. And they were saying how cases of the regular flu this year was much lesser than they usually are. And they don't know what's going to happen in the US. But as you're talking about hygiene, one of the hypotheses that because people are being so careful and washing their hands more, keeping the physical distance, so it's helping not only with the pandemic itself, but it's helping with so many other things. So it's really important for us to see how it is something that, as we apply in our lives, is going to help us not only as we march, hopefully outside of this pandemic, but as we move forward in our daily lives. So it's amazing to see, the benefits across.
Yes. Thank you so much. But, we want to finalize before the passes, reminding everybody. Learning to clean our thoughts, our feelings. That's the focus. And of course, in the physical realm, we have to do what we have to do because we are incarnated. Some people claim to be so spiritual. I'm so spiritual, I don't waste time with cleaning and this. No. We're incarnated. We need to clean. We have to. We have to take a shower. Oh, but it's just a waste of time. No. It's not a waste. We need to do this habit so one day we know how to do it in our minds automatically, in our minds, with other things in the spiritual realm. So in the book Messengers, André Louis shows to us that there are clouds. He's passing by, he's volatilizing over a city, and asks the mentors, what are those clouds? Are they clouds of rain? No, they are mental bacteria created by people who think low order feelings, have low order feelings. So we also need to think about keeping things nice and neat for other people, or we're polluting as well. We didn't want to make the focus of today, but that's an inevitable take-home message for us, that we need to be responsible for what we co-create. We are co-creating with order, with neatness, as Ben Franklin said. It's part of our evolution. After all, we're all evolving, and this universe is very organized. Talking about the organization of the universe, we're going to invite Paloma to lead us into the passes, followed by the prayer by Luciana, right? Thank you, friends.
Let us close our eyes, using this moment to tidy up our emotions, our old feelings that we have stored for so long. Let us visualize ourselves surrounded in a field of beautiful flowers, a location that brings us quietude, peace, this relaxed feeling. Let us take a couple breaths, allowing ourselves to be grounded, being very mindful at this very moment. Let us scan our spirit for old feelings of anger, of sadness, maybe even feelings, memories that we have been storing with us for so long. As we think of these emotions, let us express gratitude to it, to whatever it brought it to us. And we are going to let it go right now. We thank you for the experience, for what it brought to us. But it is time to let it go. We now visualize ourselves in a waterfall of healing light. We have created space for new and renewed emotions. And this waterfall of healing light is filling us up with energies that comes directly from the source, from the Creator. We are filled with His love, and that is sufficient for us. We now imagine ourselves in our homes, bringing this renewed energy with us. And we scan our homes for areas that also need renewal, tidying up, cleanliness. We visualize ourselves expressing gratitude for our homes, for everything that God has granted us, but we're also allowing it to be gone. We don't need all these material things. They don't mean, they don't shape us as people. We let it go, the material attachments. And we thank God for allowing us all that we have, understanding that it is through us that we also share the goodness that comes from God. Let us remain with our eyes closed as we are going to now move to our final prayer.
So, dear friends, as we receive these blessings of these passes, we come together in gratitude of everything that God provided us in this reincarnation. Dear Father, we would like to say thank you for the physical body that we have. And may we be able to take good care of it. We also want to thank you for the time that was provided to us so that we can work in our spirituality, in our reincarnation, in our goals for when we disincarnate. We also want to thank you, dear Father, for everything that you provide us so we can use as a tool, so we can progress in this reincarnation and prepare ourselves to when we return to the spiritual realm. Thank you, dear Father, for all the family, for all the universal family that we have. We thank you for the food that is provided to us, for the friendships, everything, dear God, because we know that everything comes in order to help us to become better beings. And dear Father, if we may ask for your guidance and your permission so that we can move forward doing our part in studying ourselves, studying our emotions. May, with the guardian angels and the good spirit that are here, that you open our hearts and mind so that we can learn to become more eternal beings than the physical being. We know it's hard, but we count in the help of the good spirit to guide us through our daily routine, daily activities, so that we keep in mind that everything here is passing and that we are preparing ourselves to be spirit, free spirits, evolved spirits. We thank you so much, dear God, for everything that fall into place for us to be here, together among friends, among family, learning those teachings that will take for our eternal life. Thank you so much for having this center, having those mentors guiding us, guiding this community to a greater goal in life. And we would like to pray for everyone that is sick and ill, those that has no material things. May we touch the heart of those that has too much in sharing with those brothers and sisters. We pray for all the parents, the educators, all children. We pray for the whole universe, that may we progress in the light of your teaching, dear Father. And with your permission, we close this beautiful section of study with the high elevated beings, and so be it.
Thank you so much, friends, for being with us. We are here. If you have any question, please write to us at cardiacradio@gmail.com or info@ssvirginia.org if you need fraternal assistance. For now, here's our homework. Let's tidy it up. Thank you, friends. Until next time. Bye-bye.